Episode 102 of Vertical Pursuit. Pastor Tatlock has been jet setting around the West Coast and changing lives and doing good things. All-Star Weekend, NBA All-Star Weekend.
NBA
I know
All-Star
you were
Weekend.
gone for the whole weekend, last weekend, and talk about what, I mean, you posted the other day on social media talking about athletes in, you know, how sports drives culture. We've talked about that a lot. And I'm going to connect you to another group we've talked about.
That's right.
That are the Sports Spectrum and what's the other name of it? Steve Stenstrom, NFL
PAO.
quarterback. Yeah. Is it Players Outreach? Yeah. It's just kind of crazy how, and we even saw that at the Olympics recently. You have to look in the right places because it's not going to make it on NBC to some degree. But anyway, sum up your All-Star Weekend quickly before we introduce our guest.
Yeah, we got a great guest today sitting in the studio, my garage.
It's not just a garage.
No, it is
It's the ultimate man cave.
Yeah, well, we got the Ford Neon again.
Right.
So
it's on.
Let's bring in the vibes into the studio today. We've said this before in a couple other podcasts, but maybe there's some new listeners. It's a really cool thing when all the chaplains get together twice a year. One of those times is All-Star Weekend. And it's really not even about going to the game or the events, although that's happening. It's more we meet together, we have collaborative meetings. It's almost like a retreat together. We do meetings, we pray together, we fellowship together, and then we serve together. And every all-star city we go to, there's some corrections facility that we go into. And this particular one, and the reason I bring this up is probably my highlight of when we gather for All-Star Weekends is going to, like last year, we were in the Bay Area, so we went into San Quentin. This year, we went into LA County, had a juvie center for inmates that were convicted of violent crimes. So you can imagine going to a maximum security prison with adults. Imagine going to basically the maximum security version of that for juvies, meaning that these are kids who grew up in really bad situations. These are 12 and 13-year-olds and all the way up to 19. I mean, we sat in a circle with a 21-year-old, 19-year-old that had been in since they were 14 and 15, serving time for violent crimes. But the cool thing was every time we go in, that God does something great. So we go in. One of the treats this year, though, that has never happened was the NBA moms joined us. And so there's a NBA Moms Association. And so they joined us. And these are moms of current players that have a passion to want to serve, too. It was really cool to go in. And, you know, when you walked into the gym with these kids, man, they were sizing you up right away, you know, which they have to learn how to survive. I mean, their whole life has been about survival. And, you know, I walked by one kid and he turned and stood up in my face and I thought, oh, this is going to go down. And what God does so great in those things, because later by the end of that day, we brought basketballs out and we're doing stuff in the gym and that breaks down a lot of barriers. So me and that same kid, he's like 6'5", big kid, we became partners and hooped it up later that day. And man, seeing him smile, laugh, and hugging it out with him. And it was really cool to see how God does that stuff. But we got to share the gospel with them. We got to sit and hear their story. We got to ask them questions. Hey, what do you dream about when you're here, when you get out? And hearing that these are kids that have some pretty rough stuff growing up and dreaming to get out and do something with their life. So that was very enriching. That was really cool.
Very cool, and good work as always. Speaking of the NBA and of sports, all my years with the Blazers, which was about 17 years, I was around a lot of different people. And because, you know, everybody has their own job to do on game nights and even practices and whatnot, Danny Marang, I never knew you that well.
Nope.
Not until, and I know you're still currently a sports talk show host. And what do you guys do with TV anyway? I can't remember.
We do the post.
Okay, post on TV. Okay. But anyway, I feel bad that I didn't, you know, I would see you in the media room and I would, you know, we had our rehearsal and everything before games. And I, you know, because we had duties right up to tip off, I was never in the media room much. So I never had a chance to spend any time with you. But then, ironically, now I have, because, you know, and I want to talk about, this isn't going to be an NBA-centric episode.
Why? Because of 3 guys who work in the NBA.
Yeah, right. Well, one used to.
Yeah.
But in terms of, man, you have had an interesting life, and to get to, and a wonderful season of life, I think, for you now. And, to see where you've come, and just to, not to go spoiler alert, but I'm talking about the recent stuff. We've talked about the Wednesday night den that we started a year and a half ago or something, and now it's just flourishing, and there's branches coming off it, and other things are starting. And we talk about the power of community, and we've certainly seen that at play. Well, you came into the den, I don't know how long ago, a year, maybe not quite a year.
Not quite, late July.
Yeah, and just absolutely spilled your story to everybody, and coming off, not only your past, but your recent past, and divorce, and contemplating suicide, and in fact, getting to the point where you were really at the doorstep of that, and then finding the Lord, and finding men, and finding community, and the power of that, and all those things we talk about that truly changes lives. So, man, I can't wait to dive into some of this stuff. And I don't even know about your time in the military and in war and in the desert. And so I think, number one, I wanted you to share your story. I hope that this gets to other people who know you and are fans of you, to see boldly where you're at now in life, what has been the thing that has changed it for you, and your thoughts about the future now that this is you've kind of had this rebirth.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. Like it's probably easiest to start with the most recent stuff. The den was, God is at the center of all of this stuff. That was the crux of it. And I've been a Christian for the majority of my life, but for probably 30 years, I was pretty lukewarm. Wasn't like living in sin, just out like a complete debaucherous monster. But I had my baggage. That's for sure. But it really, I think it started a couple years ago with a physical ailment. I found out I've had a bunch of knee surgeries and ankle surgeries. My lower body is a disaster, and we were treating partially torn Achilles, and they just couldn't figure out why, because there was no trauma, there was no nothing. Long story short, my Achilles was being pulled over a bone spur from a previous surgery in my ankle, and it was basically like sawing it in half. And I would go in 3 times a week and have it scraped out. Just if you've ever had that done, like I have shin splints on top of it. So having your shin scraped out for like 40 minutes is just tear-inducing, grip the table, hold on, sweet Jesus pain. And I was doing this like 3 times a week, and my right leg was 2 inches shorter than my left. And not everybody has like some sort of imbalance, but like that's really exaggerated. And they could not figure out why, because at the end of all the treatments we were doing, it would be within like a half a centimeter, which is kind of like the norm, right? But a couple of days later, it would just go right back. And I went through this probably for like 3 weeks, and then they're like, "Have you ever had any trauma to your hips?" And I'm like, "No, I've never had anything there." He's like, "Let's just shoot an X-ray." So we go next door, shoot the X-ray, go in the room, and he's like, "Brother, I don't know what to tell you. Your right hip looks 90, your left hip looks 80. And I went, "What?" He goes, "The fact that you're mobile, let alone been athletic, makes 0 sense. Like it doesn't make any sense at all." So I was 37, and they go, "You need hip replacements." And I'm like, "What?" Like, I already need knee replacements. I'm like, "So I'm going to have both? Like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm not even 40 yet." And so we start heading down this path, and my orthopedic was like, "You know what? I know a guy. He's like kind of like the Doctor Strange of hip surgeries. He only takes on like really weird, wonky cases. He actually, Kevon Looney, played for the Warriors, plays for the Pelicans now, has the same thing I have. It's avascular necrosis. He did his surgery, and the fact that Loon is playing in the NBA is crazy. Like, it doesn't make any sense." So I go see him. He looks at the MRI for like 30 seconds. It's like, "Yeah, you're a candidate." Like, so we did this massive orthoscopic surgery. It was supposed to be like an hour and a half. It ended up being 5.5 hours. Wow. Because they found 100 tears from the front of my groin to the back of my glutes. And so I go through this massive surgery, and I was basically bedridden for a month. They had me on like the nastiest drugs. Like, I've had knee surgeries where, you start rehab and PT pretty quick, right? It's a process. This was, "No, man, you've torn so much. Your hip was so failed that you need to basically chill in bed for a month." And I was already not in great shape, and it broke me. And I just got it took me 6 months to walk unassisted. Like the physical therapy was, 2-3 hours, 3-4 times a week. I couldn't get my right hamstring to fire. It was basically just this loose like piece of rubber that was just flopping there. Jeez. And so my quad got just sideways and it was miserable. So I go through this and I finally start feeling relatively normal. And they're like, hey, time for the left one. So a year after the right, I did the left to be able to strengthen it because I knew what the process was going to be. So I go through that again. And over the course of like a year and a half, I put on probably 80, 90 pounds. Like I just got fat as could be. And the last time I got on a scale, I saw the number, I was 356. And I was like, good God. How did you do? Like you were an athlete, you were, a lead athlete in the military. Like how did you allow this to happen? So the depression just starts piling up and all these things. And that was, a little more than a year and a half ago, like that summer of 24, or 25, no, 24. And going into that, I started kind of working out and getting a little bit better shape and figuring stuff out, but I was just mentally, I was so beat. I was so mentally, emotionally, physically, I was beating myself up. I know, Mike, you've talked about this. It's the way you beat yourself up. Like I'm the same way. Nobody hates me more than I hate myself. Mm-hmm. Like, don't get me wrong, things people say can hurt, but I've said the nastiest things to myself known to man. So that was kind of like the framework for where this stuff was at. And my wife at the time, my now ex-wife, we were wanting to have kids. And I don't know if you know this, but if your hips don't work, that's really hard to like work out.
Yeah.
And so we start trying at around this point, and nothing's really happening. Nothing. And thankfully, nothing came out of that because it would have made the divorce a lot worse. But around October, I think it was at Costco, I saw a 23andMe test, and I was like, you know what? So many people in my family have died of cancer. I should probably take this and check the biomarkers and just see if I've got anything. And it sat for probably a month. I think I ordered it online, like a little 2-for package. Actually, I did. I got the 2-for package because my ex-wife never took hers after what happened with me. So I sent it in, I want to say end of November, beginning of December. And I got the results December 22nd of 24. And I look at the results and I see my mom's side of the family and I'm like, yeah, that all tracks out. Because if anybody else is in your family tree has taken one, it'll pop up. So I saw a couple names that I recognized that were cousins, second cousins, that kind of thing from family when I was a kid. And I was like, okay. And I scroll over to my dad's side of the family and it's a family tree that is a mile wide. Mm. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. My dad had a brother, and that was it. And like, I didn't like, other than him and his wife and my cousin, there's no family there that I know of. And so my first thought is, that's weird. And then I scroll down, it says half brother. And I went, half brother. So I call my dad. I've sat on it for probably 3 or 4 hours. And I was like, I'm going to call my dad. Call my dad and I go, hey, did you like have somebody, because I didn't know how old the guy was, like before mom? Did you go to a sperm bank? Did you step out? Like,
right.
Because this is saying like, there's no doubt, like the DNA match, this is my half brother.
Yeah.
Like you can't fake that. Like the DNA match is too high.
Crazy.
And he's like, no, what's going on, kind of a deal. And I go, I've got a name for you. So I'd say the name, and he's like, nope, nothing. And I'm like, all right, well, there's something weird here. I'll take a look at it and talk to mom. I don't know, see what's up. And little did I know that as soon as he hung up, he goes, hey, anything you want to tell me? To my mom. When my parents were, before they had me, they got separated for 4 or 5 months. They were, not living the way you need to, and they've both owned part of this, but that's where I came from. My mom separated, and when they were separated, she slept with somebody else, and I found out that the man that raised me is not my biological father.
Whoa.
Mm. And this is a couple days before Christmas. Mm. And I shattered into a million pieces. You do not realize how much identity you have in your father until you find out that none of it is real.
And does it sound like he didn't know?
He did not know.
So he's learned some stuff at the same time. Wow.
And so
Wow.
it, my mom called me, I want to say an hour after I talked to my dad, and she was crying uncontrollably. And I'm like, what's going on? Because I don't know at this point. I don't know. And she just says, I'm sorry. Your dad is not your dad. And I said, what do you mean? What do you mean? Mom, what do you mean? Mom, what do you mean? Mm-hmm. And I fell to my knees and just started screaming. It felt like somebody, like a Jenga block, like not somebody knocked out the centerpiece, it's somebody just punched right through it. My entire being collapsed. My entire identity fell on the floor and just shattered. I called my sister. I called my wife. My wife was out at her friends, or my ex-wife was at her friends. I called my sister who lived down the street, came over, and I just screamed and cried for hours. And all of the things started popping up in my head. Like growing up, I used to make jokes. I don't look anything like my sister. I don't look anything like my dad. It was a running joke. Now we know why.
I know.
And I'm really good at math. And my dad's got a degree in electrical engineering, owns a CNC company. And I always joke, I got my English skills from my mom and my math science skills from my dad, because my dad's dyslexic. He can't write his own name without spelling it backwards, kind of a deal. But mathematically, he's brilliant. So I'm like, well, did I get that from him? Like, it's just a stupid thing, but like all of the things, and I used to blame, because my dad has bad knees, I used to blame my bad knees on my dad. And I'm like, that's not true. Like truth, like all of a sudden truth isn't true. And the next day, hopefully my boss doesn't kill me for this one. The next day, my mom called me again to just talk through and apologize. She maybe said 6 words. I spent the next hour and a half screaming louder at the top of my lungs than I ever have in my entire life. Just losing it. I mean, I can't even remember what I said. I was so viscerally angry, so viscerally broken, and I did damage to my vocal cords. I lost my voice for almost 2 weeks. I mean, not like I got a little, no, I did damage all of a sudden I realized I'm a radio host. Did I just cost myself my career? Like I went to the doctor and they're like, you didn't tear anything, but like it doesn't look great. So, Dusty was my co-host at the time, and I called him or texted him and told him what was going on. And I go, I can't come in, dude. Like it's not like I can fake it through this. Like I can't talk at all. Like I have to write stuff down. Like I cannot, the doctor told me you cannot talk. Like you need to let it rest for a while. And I'm sitting there just like, so I had to sit in it. I'm a guy who talks a lot. So that was already incredibly difficult. And so I go to Christmas with my family. Oh boy. That was,
wow.
My sister and my brother-in-law know. The kids don't know. Obviously my now ex-wife knows, my dad and my mom. And it was, you want to talk about awkward? Oh, buddy. We're usually a pretty tight, on the clock family when it comes to holidays. This was super tight. I was in and out of there in probably 40 minutes. Like it was like, nope, this isn't going to work. And so I nursed that back. I get my voice back and get back on air. And I mean, I was checked out. I mean, I'm checked out for months. I mean, I'm gone. I'm fat. I'm broken. I'm physically broken. I'm mentally broken. I'm emotionally broken. Spiritually, I'm gone. Just completely cooked. And get through the next 6 months, beginning of June, I come home and my wife is sitting at the truck, with her mom, and she has loaded up everything during the day. And she says, I'm gone. We hadn't fought. We hadn't argued. I mean, I was not a good husband in the sense of being present, being there. Like I own the stuff that I did in there, but we didn't fight. We didn't argue, And probably that's part of the problem is we didn't fight. We didn't argue. The passion like that, that marriage, in a sense, God saved me from it. It's not that we were bad people, but we got married, and I looking back on it, I had questions, and it's one of those things where I think I married her because I think that's what I thought I was supposed to do. And again, I was Christian, but I wasn't in prayer beforehand, and I wasn't, doing the steps that I needed to do to make sure that where things were rooted at. So in the span of a year and a half, my body has completely failed me. I found out my father isn't my biological father. But just by the way, I love my dad. He's my dad. He's never not been my dad. And people who hear me say stuff like that, your dad's not your dad or something like that, and think, oh, you know what? I love him. Like you want to talk about showing up? He was there for everything. And our relationship is different now in a sense because I think he's still kind of working through some things, but like he'll never not be my dad.
Yeah.
And I found out through this process, I have two brothers. So my old squirrel moment. I know who my biological father is. I've talked to my brothers, and I've actually talked to a couple cousins because I wanted to let them know.
Yeah.
Not that I want any part of their life, but I wanted to let them know. And so I had a three-way phone call with both my brothers, and they're both younger than me. And I found out that my biological father is a Marine. One of my brothers is prior Navy. One of my other brother is currently serving in the Army, and I served in the Air Force.
Wow.
No one in my family is military.
Huh.
Wow.
So you want to talk about the genetics and DNA and all the stuff and my brothers and me, we like the same music. We all play guitar. Like our laughs sound the same. Like we sound the same. And me and one of my brothers we look like brothers.
Wow.
It's kind of creepy. I'm like, oh yeah. Yeah. We got different moms, but there's a lot of traits that it's like, yeah, that there's no doubt. Like my sister and I walk in somewhere and people think when I was younger, like, oh, is that your girlfriend? It's like, it was like, cause me and my sister and I look nothing alike. And me and one of my brothers, we look a lot alike, but like I said, we talked for like 3 hours and it was like we grew up together.
Wow.
It was so crazy. It was so nuts. But so we go through this period and my now ex leaves and I had nothing left. I had nothing left over the course of a year and a half, 2 years, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. There's nothing left. God said, you aren't listening, so I need to break you. And I'm going to break every last part of you. And it's easy for me to say that now, but in that I couldn't see that because I wasn't living it. I wasn't reading it. I wasn't paying attention to it. I wasn't mindful of it. And we get through June and Summer League happens. And I'm like, I need to get out of here. So I went down to Summer League, and going to Las Vegas can be real dicey, especially if you're in the position that I'm in. But I don't know why. God just kind of protected me. And I stayed at a hotel with some buddies that I knew I could trust. I didn't stay like on the strip. I stayed at the park.
Yep.
Because I knew I'd be close to Thomas and Mack, and it's non-smoking too, so it's like I won't probably be around as much of the other stuff, and I had guys like, oh man, this is good for you. You can go out here, you can slay this and go to this, and it's Vegas, and it's
of course
it's sports media, and it's not the best influences, and but the worst thing I did is had a couple drinks one night, like nothing crazy. We went to play a little bit of poker, play a little blackjack. The last night we were there, a guy who lost a lot of money on the tables the night before was like, we're not going to the casino, we're going to Backstreet Boys. So we went and saw Backstreet Boys at the Sphere. By the way, best show I've ever seen in my entire life.
I've heard that.
If an artist plays at the Sphere and like you're even mildly interested in, go. It's so insane. But I come back from that trip and I'm just empty. I knew I needed to get out. I knew I needed to go do something, but nothing. And I'm just so empty. And about a week after that, I was sitting in bed and it got real bad. And, like any other military veteran, I've got a, little vault next to my dresser in my drawer. And I grabbed a Glock 40 and I sat on the edge of my bed and I had it in my hand and I looked around the room, and I go, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna take my life right now. And I knew the position I was going to be in. I knew how I wanted to do it. I knew this is going to be super graphic. But that's intentional, because when you get to this moment, you don't realize what it is. And I knew how I was going to shoot myself, where I was going to shoot myself, what it was going to look like, how they would find me, every last part of it. And I started to raise the gun to my head, and I got about right here. And my finger's on the trigger. I've got trigger discipline. I know what I'm doing. And there's no safety on a Glock. You got a trigger switch. That's it. And I got there, and I stop, and I just puke. I just lose it. And I take my hand out, I put the gun down, I just fall down, and I just run to the bathroom. I just throw up and throw up and throw up. And it's just, that was it. And it just broke me. And I go clean up, and I laid in bed. I still don't know how I fell asleep. I think I was so exhausted that I finally just fell asleep. And in April, I had started golfing. Like I'd had golf clubs for a decade, but I play once, maybe twice a year. But I was starting to get more physically active. I was like, oh, you know what? I can't ball anymore. Like my hips and my knees are cooked. I've got to find something. And I had been playing solos even before she had walked out. And just signing up at wherever locally. And about 2 weeks later, just kept going. And I was going out there and just gone. I was just a shell walking around the golf course. And I'm sure I was just a swell guy to be around at that point in time. And I got paired up in a group with one of the guys at our church, Dan. And we got to the 13th hole. And I just trauma dumped on him. My wife just left me. Found out my dad's not my dad. I had a gun to my head 2 weeks ago. Just, hey, dude, how you doing? And Dan was so gracious in that moment as we're walking up to the green after our tee shots, and he just puts a hand on my shoulder and he goes, "Hey, man, I'm part of a group, And I just. Saying that, I knew what he was saying. I knew what he was saying before he even said what it was. I knew what it was. It was like God was going, "Hey, bud, still here? You listening yet? You need to get hit again?" And he goes, "It's a group. It's amazing dudes, but it's a bunch of broken dudes." And hilariously, he goes, "You might know one of the guys there." He goes, "Mike Barrett," and I go, "Yeah, I know MB." And I go, "Is this, Grace?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I was like, "I've been there." So me and my ex-wife had gone a couple times, and I've got some friends that have come there. I've got some friends that for the church that I used to go to that are part of Grace. And I just looked at him and we talked for a second, and I was like, don't leave here without me getting your number. And that was a lot for me, but it was just like, so, we talk and we keep playing, and we get to the 18th, and I go, "Hey, man, let me get your number." And Dan reached out and was kind of gave me some space, but kept me on the line. And he's like, "Hey, do you want to go this week?" And I had so much shame. I was like, no, I'm good. Maybe next week. And that next week, I spent the whole week being like, you know where you need to go. You know what you need to do. Like, you can feel it in your heart. You can feel it in your soul where you need to be, dude. Like, just give in. Just submit. I don't want to break you anymore. Like, and finally, I think he was Monday of that week. He texted me. He's like, "Hey, man, do you want to go?" And I was like, "I'll meet you here. We'll meet you at the park down the street, because this spot's kind of hard to find." And we told this story when we were giving baptisms the other day about the property that we do this at. There's an address, but like Dan just dropped a pin on old Google Maps, and I'm just like, where is this? Like, okay. And so I'm like, "You know what, man? Yeah, I will go. I'll meet you at the park." I'm like, "I'm not that far away." And so we get up there, and it's summertime, so we were sitting outside of the fire pit, and our group at the time was super small. I think it was like 6 of us that night, and a couple guys start sharing, and I can't remember what else we were talking about that night. But Dan just kind of looked at me, and it just hit me, and I'm like, "All right, buckle up. I basically told this story in a sense. And other than Dan was the only person I had told that I had a gun to my head. And just putting it out and saying it out loud and just giving it all up, I just broke down. I just felt this massive, massive, massive weight off my shoulders in a sense that I just couldn't fathom. I felt life back in my body. I felt life back in my soul. And I was just like, I'm like, oh, there it is. There it is. And I kept coming to group for a couple of weeks. I didn't come back to church yet because the shame was still there. It was like my now girlfriend is actually who got me back to church. But getting connected there again ended up changing everything. And the number of things that happened from that point on were huge. It was in early September, I got an email for divorce care. And that on Saturday, that Friday, my now co-host on the radio, I told him I was looking at going back to dating, or not dating, but just like going out, because I knew my marriage was done. That's where another spot God worked really crazy in that. This is honestly part of the reason I had a gun to my head. The failure as a man, failure as a husband part hit really hard, because when she left, I fought for a day. And the next day I texted her, if this is what you really want, okay. Because I never would have left. I never, that's not how I'm wired. That's not how I would have left. Or I never would have left. And, but I just let it go. And part of me hated myself for just letting it go. But I think God just severed that and said, no, I'm going to let you let this go, because normally I wouldn't do that. And, so it's early September, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go out there and just see what it's like. I haven't dated in a decade, and I've heard horror stories out there right now. Like, I don't know what I'm doing now. And I'd found this website called, I think it was Golf Singles. I was like, worst case scenario. I can put my headphones in and play around a golf. I'll pay for yours. Like, if this isn't it, cool. And I got like 4 or 5 messages pretty quick. Like, oh yeah, no, this is like the day. And I'm like, all local. And I was like, nah, I'm good. And I told my co-host, I was thinking about doing that. He's like, well, what are you interested in? And I'm like, to be honest, man, like, I don't know. I don't know what it'll end up being. And he goes, well, like, anything you're not into? I'm like, I've never done the whole septum ring thing. I've never really liked like chest tattoos, and I've never dated anybody with kids. Saturday, I got an email for divorce care. I'm on the Grace distribution list, but I was like, and the class started on Tuesday. And it was like $25 or something like that. I go, worst case scenario, I'll get nothing out of this. But what am I doing? You're just coming home and being miserable, so go. And I'm like, best case scenario, you get something out of this. So I get there on Tuesday, and I sit down, and it's, I think 9 of us. And the last person who walks in is this absolutely stunningly gorgeous woman. And that's not what caught my eye. There is a legitimate spiritual glow around her. Like, you could have turned the lights off and she would have shined. And you and I were texting back and forth a lot. And I got out of that class. I didn't say a word to her, but I was obsessed. Like, and not in the physical sense. Like, I prayed harder and longer and more frequently and more fervently than I ever had in my life. God, if that is there again, I will talk to her. I swear to God, please, please, please. And I'm texting back and forth with you. I'm like, man, I know how fresh out of, like, I'm not dumb. I'm like, I know how hurt I am. I know how wounded I am. I know how broken I am. But there's something here. And the next week, same thing. It's there. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to listen this time. It doesn't hurt that she's gorgeous. I'll definitely do this. So class gets over. I haven't said a word to her. I've probably stared at her for an hour straight, though, freaking her out. But she kind of speed walks, and I've got to try to make it look like, oh no, I can't let anybody see this, but I catch up to her. I'm like, hey, good to meet you. Da, da, da. You said you go to church here, right? And she's like, yeah. I go, what service do you go to? She goes, 9:00. I go, I've been thinking about coming back. Do you mind if I sit with you? She's like, yeah, no, it'd be great. Come sit with me. And we go out to the parking lot and we talked for 2.5 hours. The next night we were on the phone for 5 hours. The next night we were on the phone for 4 hours. I mean, it is just boom, boom, boom. And I mean, not the, oh, what do you like to do? It's like, what's your deepest, darkest secret? And it was just like a truck. And, we've been together now for 5 months, and she has been a rock for me. And for those that are wondering, she has a septum piercing, she has chest tattoos, and she has a kid. God's got a sense of humor. To throw all three in there is just the wildest thing. And she has been, outside of God, she has been the single largest impact on my adult life. I've said for the last couple months, I feel like between the ages of like 32 and 39, I didn't mature physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I was just the same person, just older. I feel like I've matured 10 years in the span of 5 months. And don't get me wrong, I'm still a dummy and I still make stupid mistakes. But the way God is the way he broke me down to, just nothing, just dust, and has allowed me to build back up. We could spend 3, 4, 5 hours of me telling you different little stories of confirmations, of guidance, of people speaking into my life that more so in that period of time than in the entirety of my life. And that's a hard thing to kind of rationalize, to kind of look at, and it's both awesome and terrifying at the same time. And it's like, Mike, you've talked about the imposter syndrome of our industry and all the stuff that comes along with that. There's a spiritual imposter syndrome.
Absolutely.
Like why do I deserve this? Why me? And not the why me and like the pity, but like, why me? Mm-hmm. We've talked about this at games, like, the whole idea of like, where I feel like God is calling me and where he's leading me. I'm like, yeah, but why? Why? Like, I'm broken. Why? Like, what did I do to deserve any of this? Why? I'm looking around, like, I see guys that are 10 times the man that I am. Why aren't you working in their life that way? Why me who, had a failed marriage? Why me who couldn't take care of his body? Why me who, had all these reasons to be successful and to set himself up, who's failed so many different times? Like, if you want to talk about failure, we could spend 3-4 days talking about the things that I've messed up, the things that I've failed into. My career now I've failed into. I tell people all the time, like, how do you get here? I'm like, I failed upwards. That's how I got here. Like, I don't have a journalism degree. I don't have any background in this. Like, and yet that's what I do for a living. My life doesn't make sense. It's never made sense. But that's kind of the irony of it all, in that brokenness, that failure, the things that I've done or not done or been through has led me to where I am. And you want to talk about like the cosmic circumstances, the God having his thumb on everything. Like, you can't be where I am without, like, Lee Strobel, did the case for Christ, like, the scientific case for it. I'm like, you want another chapter, Lee? I'll give you one. Like, because if I told you how me and my girlfriend met and the things that led up to that, you're like, there's no way. There's no way. How does that, there's no way that happens. And so we've got a half hour of just the last 18 months. So, and we could do, God only knows how much more if I went into detail of all the little things over the last 5-6 months. So yeah, the way that God has worked in my life and the community, and I think it's really cool. We had communion at men's group on Wednesday. Community saved my life. God brought me into a community that I did not have at all, and not even just in a godly community. It's a godly community and a community of men. Like, I just did not have that. Yeah. And now I've got both you guys. I've got Dan. I've got Travis. I've got, John and Dave in my small group. Like the number of guys that reach out to me all the time. And at the same time, I've got younger guys looking to me as a mentor, which I never in a million years thought would happen.
I know what's super powerful about a lot of all of this, but you were on a golf course with Dan, and you guys were just hanging out this last weekend. Dan is just to give a shout out to Dan. Dan's that guy. Dan's the guy that will jump into the hard mess of life with you, and we all really honor and respect Dan because of the way that he looks beyond himself and makes you feel like you are the most important person in that moment.
Dan's favorite line is, "I see you."
He does.
And he says that.
Yeah.
And he'll walk in and he can tell if I'm, having a hard day or having a hard time, and he'll just look and say, "I see you."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "I know you do because you asked." I love that intentionality. And that's what you talk about community saving your life. That's what that is. Yeah. And the other part of it is, and I didn't mean to hijack your comments, but I'm sitting here thinking, and I was having this conversation with a friend yesterday who's going through a whole bunch of stuff. And then he said, kind of took the words out of my mouth that I have said on a lot of occasions, if not for the brokenness, if not for being broken down like this, I would never, and I've said this before on podcasts, I wouldn't be crying out, and I would have never discovered this. And if you hadn't gone through what you went through, you wouldn't have seeked out community. Certainly returned to church, but what we talk about on this podcast, big reason why we started it, is to give people a place to go, and because they need that. And there's a lot of guys that I'll tell about community, be it the Den or whatever, the Forge, and some of the great things where you just get known by a group that's not going to reject you if you're fully known. And if you can get around that, and I'll see some different friends, and then it's not really my thing, and I'm thinking, and then I walk off and I say, it's not your thing yet, but it will be. And I love the stories that we're getting out of this, and just the, after Wednesday, somebody came up to me last week and said it's so funny, said a cliche that has not really been compared between the guys, but he said, "I didn't want to come tonight. I don't feel worthy. I wasn't in a receiving mood." And he said, as soon as I walked through the door, my shoulders dropped, and I went, and he said, "I'm home."
Wow.
And I love that. So if you had not been through all of this stuff that it took to get you there, and then you start to see, as you said, a pattern, and the rings connect. And you go, "Okay, Lord, thank you for breaking me in half, because I wouldn't have gotten here without it, and I wouldn't be on my knees for you. I wouldn't be crying out to you if not for the stuff that happened." So I know that's a pretty obvious one, Pastor T, but that's what we talk about.
Well, that's why one of the things that I think is powerful, every guy that shows up on Wednesday night, and I would say, when that moment, the guys that were there the night that you shared, for those that are listening and don't know, we meet on Wednesday nights. We start in a big group of guys, probably 50 some guys, and then we break into small groups, small circles. And so you shared with everybody. It wasn't just your small circle.
Well, I did the small one the first time, but
That's
I want to
right.
say it was probably 3 weeks, maybe a month later.
Yes.
I think it was right. I think it was the night that the week we came together after Charlie got assassinated.
It was.
Yeah.
That's right. And I remember sitting, looking at you sharing what you shared with us, with all the guys, and every guy leaned in, because every guy's been in some form or another of a moment of going, is it worth it? Is it worth it? And you start ideating, and maybe not everybody was in the specifics that you were in, but that place of feeling like, man, my life, is it worth it? Is it worth it? And I watched the room, and I'm watching guys lean in. And then when we broke into our small groups, multiple guys were saying, hey, I kind of struggle with that same stuff, or I had a season of my life where I struggled with that. And I think what you did in that moment, and this has happened multiple other times with other guys, when we walk in vulnerability, that honesty, one, it's freeing for us. It's freeing for us to go, I'm known here. And because our biggest, we say this, our biggest desires and need is to be known, but our biggest fear is to be known than rejected. And so when we share these things, we're always like, ooh, our guy's going to pull away, not lean in. And then you get embraced, and guys are just like, hey, man, we're with you. And dude, thanks for sharing that. It gives me courage now to talk about my stuff. And the enemy wants to keep us in isolation, wants to keep us where we keep all this stuff to ourselves, because that's where he just cranks the dial. But then we can say, I'm walking with some brothers, they'll walk with me. And I love that Dan invited you, because I actually, you guys can answer this. I think most of the guys that are on Wednesday night are there because somebody invited them.
Absolutely.
Most of them.
Yeah.
I dragged Jarrett.
Yeah, that's right.
From divorce care.
Exactly.
Like legitimately.
Yeah.
And he got baptized
Yeah. I mean,
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It was you want a little tangent here. This is one of those little stories. So I think this is the third or fourth week of divorce care. And, we've got Costco down the street. And I'm like, I got to make a little run real quick. I'm going to go in there and grab a couple things. And whenever God gives me something, it's the same thing. It comes the same way every single. It's like the way that I recognize it. It's straight in my chest, and it's usually just a word or two. It's usually not more than that. I have not said a word to Jarrett in class, and I go to Costco and I just get Jarrett, and it gets louder and louder and louder and louder. I'm like, okay, I'll say something to him. I don't know what you want, but I got it. So when I walk in the class, I think it was the fourth week, because everybody kind of had their seats, and I sat at the corner because I like to man spread because my hips are a disaster. And I went to go sit in this chair and I couldn't sit in it. And I'm like it felt weird. So I go over one chair and I pull that out and I sit there. Jarrett's the last guy to walk in the class, and guess where the only chair is open at? Right next to me on the right-hand side. I'm like, okay, gotcha. We kind of start the class, and divorce care, you kind of start with like review of the last week, and then here's kind of stuff we're going to talk about, and then there's a video. And as the video's getting ready to start, I hope Jarrett doesn't mind me saying this, but I didn't have anything other than the same thing kind of started happening, Jarrett. I'm like, okay. And like lights dim, we're getting ready to watch the video, and tap him on the back. I'm like, hey man, you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm good. Video plays, get all the way through, and we start talking about it. And Jarrett just goes, hey, I just got to say something. And he just kind of turns to me, Danny, he goes, you asked me if I'm okay. I'm not. And he just kind of started telling his story. And I was like, okay. And the den had been so huge for me. We walk out and kind of do the same thing that I did with my girlfriend, and we get to the parking lot, and I go, hey man, I've told you about the den. You need to go. And he's like, yeah, I know, I want to go. And I looked at him, I go, no, you're not getting it. This is like him like confirming that something was there. It was just like, no, I'm not letting you off the hook in this. And because of what Dan did for me, right. I wanted to do the same for him. And I go, I'm actually kind of demanding that you go. Like God is, I'm not trying to speak for God, but God's telling me you need this. You need to go. He's like, well, I got this thing with my friend tomorrow. I'm like, well, you need to kind of take care of that then. He's like, hold on. And he sent a text or made a phone call real quick. He goes, where's it at? I go, I'm going to meet you at this park. And you can follow me up there.
That's fun.
And same thing happened to him.
Wow.
Same thing happened to him. And like Mike just said, he got baptized a couple weeks ago. And he texted me that he was going to do that. And I was with my girlfriend, and we all live within a couple blocks of each other. It's awesome. It's we didn't know each other, and now we all live right next to each other. All of us live next to each other.
Yeah.
But it was. He goes, "Hey man, would you hop in with me?"
Yeah.
And I just my first thought was, why me? Why would you want me there? And the same thing happened, a couple weeks ago with Daniel. And we break apart, and Holy Spirit's just moving in there. And God kind of gave me something for the first time of this is an actual thing that he needs prayer for. And I was afraid. And I go, man, and I caveat it. I'm like, hey man, I feel like God's telling me you need prayer for this. I'm like, if it's not, sorry, but, and it just started moving. I mean, that dude just caught fire.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And, I get out of the hot tub with Jarrett. We had 4 guys baptized that night. And I'm sitting there freezing my butt off. I'm just getting ready to put my clothes back on. And Daniel comes up to me and he goes, "Hey man, will you hop in with me?"
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll get in there with you. Are you kidding me? And, like those are the kind of things I'm talking about. Like, it's just one after another, that community, that communion, that brotherhood, like the way that God moves and God knows how it needs to move in my life for me to know it, to recognize it, because I'm too dumb to see it otherwise. And like that, those are the things, like, it's just, it feels like it's almost every day. And, me and my girlfriend now, when you're up there preaching, we shoot each other looks like, we were just talking about this. Like, it's like, it feels like we're the only people in the room every week. And it's just been like, and it sounds so selfish in a sense of like, but it feels like so many things everywhere are just being shouted at me or at us. Yeah. And it's been awesome, but again, terrifying at the same time.
I think what's hitting me when you share the story is because you brought up the baptisms, and because we meet at this place where the owner's gym has a hot tub, and we've done multiple baptisms.
It's a big hot tub.
I got baptized there.
Yeah, you did. And what's wild is we do it, the way we do baptisms is the way I think Jesus imagined it. Jesus said, go baptize them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, the Great Commission. And that's for everybody. And so if you are involved in some form or another, helping another guy in his walk with Jesus, you get the honor of getting in the water and helping baptize him. And that night, it was such a funny picture. We had dudes were just jammed in that hot tub.
Yeah.
And then you got an army of guys standing on the outside clapping and cheering, and it was unbelievable. And for you to be in those waters, not you being baptized this time, but now you facilitating and helping other guys give a testimony and be baptized. I wanted to pause on this part of the moment because I think there might be some guys listening who are going, is it worth it? You might be listening right now going, yeah, I'm having thoughts right now that are just like, maybe I should just pack it up, take it out. Let's just be done with this whole life thing, right? And here you are now looking back going, God's using you in their lives, and you're seeing hope again in other areas of your life. And so just if you're listening right now, and I'd encourage you, just let God speak right now in this moment to your life, that it's worth it to keep trusting him, even if it's hard and dark and hopeless. That's all I just want to say. Because your words right now, the Bible says in Revelation that the testimony of Jesus is the word of prophecy. And that might be weird for people, but you're giving your testimony right now. And we're sitting here listening with radios and stuff, but God's speaking through you right now. And there's people listening and they're going, something's happened to me as I'm listening right now. Just so you know, I'm going to connect the dots. That's the Lord speaking through the power of testimony into your life right now. Listen to him. He's speaking to you. If you need to surrender your life to him right now, you need to keep trusting him with the hard stuff. Do it, because he's got a plan for your life, and you will see him use your life. So that's all I want to interject that moment.
And I loved early on when you started coming and we had known each other again a little bit from the past, but I'm sitting here thinking I want to go back through our text threads because in the last year, because as your hesitation, I don't even want to say hesitation, was very similar to not only what I would do, what a lot of other guys would do. You were having a very difficult time receiving.
Oh God!
And we talk about, I made this silly comparison the other night about a Christmas tree and all the presents under it, and you can look over there and see these gifts, but they aren't really yours until you open them and receive them. And so a lot of the stuff you were texting me back, 6-8 months ago, was a lot of questions, and I answered what I could. And I'm not a pastor, but I was just answering the way that I felt like I could answer them. But most of them, I was hearing the same, and it was familiar to me.
Familiar theme.
Because it was in my head. And all of this stuff, you talk about imposter syndrome and the difficulty of really acknowledging the fact that the Lord is speaking to you and the Lord sees you and that you are worthy of that. And that, I think, is the biggest hurdle for most men in even taking a step toward this, is they don't feel worthy.
I mean, hopping in that hot tub, I didn't feel worthy. I'm looking over and I see you, I see Travis, and I see Dave, and I'm just like, what business do I have in here? What business do I have in here?
Yeah.
Like even in my head right now, it was going through my head.
Yep.
It's like I said, I've been a Christian for 30 years, and I know a lot of the Bible, but I never really read it. Like it always felt dry, and now I can't put it down at times. And where I know there's real change in building that muscle is whenever there's a problem, the first thing I do is like I grab my Bible.
Yeah.
It's the first thing I do. And I got this tattoo on my arm a couple weeks ago, and I've been wanting to do one for a while. It's for audio. It's a Lion of Judah with the 3 crosses, and I've got another band that I have to finish on. It's going to be James 1, 2 through 4.
Gee.
Trials.
Yep.
And originally I was going to have it basically stop like right at my elbow, but it's gone down a little bit further. But I didn't think about this in terms of anything. I wanted to be able, if I wore a full sleeve, to be able to just still kind of cover it a little bit. But when it got done, I looked down, I saw the T-shirt stopped right above all 3 crosses. So if I'm wearing a T-shirt, they're always there. And the number of times I have looked at that when I'm in traffic and somebody cuts me off and I want to lose my mind, and I look down, I'm like, what are you doing, dude? And it's just been this like little reminder of everything, and worthiness of like, you're worthy even though you're broken. You're worthy even though you want to flip this guy the bird. You're not unloved because you sin. And I didn't plan it that way, but it's just there all the time now. And it's like, okay, that's a cool little reminder. I didn't think about it that way, but appreciate the nod there. But yeah, I don't just that worthiness, not just in his love, but in living your life and his call in your life. And that's the thing that I'm really focused on now, is not striving, but trying to be as humble and submit in everything. And whether it's me or in my relationship or relationships, where I turn to, especially in hard times or in mistakes or when I need guidance, where I struggle the most still is when things are going well, not, I did good. No. You didn't do good. You didn't do good. He put you on this path. Yeah. And having gratitude. Gratitude has come up a lot recently in your guys' messages. And then my girlfriend is very, very big on that. And honestly, it was only about a week ago that it just started like punching me in the face. And already I can tell, just being actively just more in it, being thankful, the little dials that are changing, and having that gratitude and getting out of that self-hatred and getting out of that self-loathing. And just, one of the guys in our small group, Mark, is, God, he's so good. He goes, it's not like you're not going to go to the gym and lift heavy. You just got to start small. Yeah. And if you start with 3 things every day, and it's 3 different things every day, and you write them down on your phone, all of a sudden you get down a path where you see the list of all the things that you're grateful for. And it can be big things. It can be small things. It can be, your rock rack over here that looks like my old military locker. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
One of the first things I noticed in here, I was like, why does that look really familiar? But it was, it's been huge. And it's just like, when you think you've got it all figured out, number one, you don't. Number two, like every little thing, the intentionality of things. And I lived for so long without intention. and without gratitude. Like that, those are two of the things that like this feels like this season is about in everything, in the hard times, and like being very aware in the hard times of being gracious and appreciating that even though things are difficult, especially I come back to the perspective of what I just went through.
Yeah.
Having the perspective now that those trials will make you stronger. They will give you the endurance. Like that part of it, it doesn't make it suck any less.
Right.
Like when you screw up, you screw up. It still sucks. You gotta, love my Marines out there. Embrace the suck. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you have to embrace the suck, but you have to know that on the other end of the suck, there's going to be something for you. And you don't learn when you succeed. You learn when you fail. At least you hope, so you don't continue making the same mistakes.
I've thought of that at times. You touch on military life and basic training and how it kind of breaking you down
Trauma
to
bonding.
nothing and rebuilding you is not. It's no question where we got that because it's very similar to what you just talked about in life, me, other people. And for you, it's been interesting because I've seen you come to a place kind of like I did back when I was, working in the NBA, and that was my life for the most part. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, but saying I'm not sure my identity was where it should have been. Those things that seemed so important then all of a sudden when you wake up, not that those things aren't still worthy of your time, of your effort, but then you start to get your perspective shifts. And I sense that with you a little bit. Where
it's not a little bit.
Now you're like,
massive.
And it's not like you don't love what you do, because we all have to provide and we all want to give our all to our professions. And there's honor in that, certainly. And we glorify God through that. But just how things change and how the little things like, we'd be on a road trip and lose a close game and it would ruin my night. And now I'm like, as I've gotten older, maybe matured more and maybe had a better perspective on what's important in life, stuff like that, I can't even imagine that would bother me now because it doesn't.
No, the identity thing is huge. Growing up, first my identity was in the military, and then it was in my job, whatever I was doing, working as a contractor. Then it became, when I really pursued a career in sports media, my identity was tied in that. And then my identity was partially tied in being a husband. That's the reason my marriage failed, is that my identity wasn't as strong as it should be in that. And then I found out my identity in my father. And what God did is said, your identity is not in me. So you're not going to have those identities anymore. Yeah. And you're right. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm very blessed to have my job. I talk for a living. It's not hard, but it's not easy either. Like you and I, we both, we can't say this publicly. Like it's because it's such a different job. It's mentally taxing more than anything. And it's, you got to put on the shoes and tap dance for however long. And anytime you go somewhere, somebody recognizes you, it's fun. I love it. I'm terrible. As you can tell, I won't shut up. People will want to talk, and I will talk to every single one of them. And it's so much fun. And, but sometimes, you have to make a decision about your time. And I was never good at that. And I would prioritize that time over other time. And now I still do it a little bit, but like you said, you start recognizing those things. You start realizing what matters and where your identity needs to be in. Like my identity now is in Christ. And I struggle with that in the sense of like keeping tethered to it. Like in the morning when I wake up, it's real easy. When I go to bed, it's real easy. The hours in between, those are harder. Like when I have the same pattern every morning. We get up, we take the dogs for a walk. I grab my little Bible app on the can, kind of a deal. Like I think a lot of guys probably do. I'm not gonna look, man. Of course. You can say I'm weird. I'm not bringing the paper one in there. No, I'm not doing. Like some people do. I'm just not going to do it. Right. It feels like sacrilege. You're just like, no, I'm just not doing it. Yeah. So the cell phone is in there. But I do that. Doing the Bible a day, banging through, and we'll go for our walk. We'll get back, and I don't know, probably about a month, 6 weeks ago, I made sure that I prayed over my girlfriend every morning before I leave. And if I don't do that, I feel bad. Not like I didn't tick the box. It's like, I'm not doing this in a loving manner. I need to make sure that I prioritize that every day. And I go to the gym, and physically going to the gym, I have to go. Like if I don't go to the gym, if I don't have that outlet, I'm a miserable person, and I'm so much better off now. I go to the gym and I work out. And then, what's crazy is over the last 6 months, I can't listen to non-Christian music anymore. Like I've got a playlist with I don't know, probably 1,500 songs. It's just like all like workout music. And I can get like 2 or 3 songs into it, and then something feels empty. And I don't say that to sound high and mighty. It just doesn't hit right. It's weird. But I'll listen to you guys on the podcast, or I'll listen to some, metal Christian or whatever it is. It's a heavy day or whatever it is. But through that, I make sure that I'm praying. Like, hey, God, I'm giving you my body right now. Like that, like I'm focused on that. And then, I'll go get my girlfriend a coffee. And when I do that, I'll have, I'll just pray throughout my workout and throughout that period of like, is there something you want me to say to her today? And I write her a little note with a Bible verse every single day. And that's not sitting here to say, oh, I'm such a good boyfriend. It's like, no, I want to do that. I want to be a man that cares, that is
you're intentional now.
Yeah. And really doing that every single day. And a lot of times that message might be for me, but it's also for her too. And she's told me like so many times that you had exactly what I needed that day. And it, she's got her little daily Bible calendar kind of thing. And she's like, yeah, the note you gave me was almost exactly what was here. Like, just like, again, one of those little things. But then I go into the studio and I'm on air for 3 hours, and I try to remember to pray, hey, God, guard my lips. Like what? And then, but I'll slip up and I'll say something dumb, or I'll say something like I used to. And it's like, then I'm beating myself up, and, and then the drive home, I'm like, could have done this better. Could have done that better. I could have had an opportunity here. It's one of those things where you start beating yourself up, and then in the in-between time, the intentionality falls away. And usually around nighttime, it starts to become a little bit more intentional. But the rhythms of the day, it's like that in-between period. That's the thing that I think I struggle with the most. When I start my day and when I close my day, because, when it's time to go to bed, I pray over us both and make sure that's, it's kind of the last thing that happens before we go to bed, and we're good there. But that in-between period, like that's, I don't know if other guys struggle with that as much, or if that's, me just being a weirdo, or where that comes from, but that intentionality of all that's where I find the biggest void right now.
Have you gotten to the point where, and because you're, I was on the air, you're on the air, and so you have that life and what you're known as on the air. I got to a point where early on, when I would come to church, I would get the imposter syndrome. But then, as I started going down the path, my perspective shifted. It flipped.
Yep.
I got the imposter syndrome from being on the air.
Yep.
Because at one point I thought, well, I'm not worthy to be here. I'm not really myself. Well, then as that changed, church-wise and with my fellowship and brotherhood with men, then it went the other way, where I'm like, I'm not sure I'm, and I know in a secular world we have to be careful, but there's enough opportunity, and I found that over the years. And again, I was doing a secular NBA broadcast, but there's times when, I could slip in a couple of things here and there, and we'd always get shout outs to people who would send in, we would do that on our broadcast, which was kind of unusual. I was told anyway, where I would say, hey, praying for you, or some little things I would drop. Never got any pushback for it. But the best time is when somebody would come up later, and this happened occasionally, after a game, when people come down to meet us or whatever, get a picture, and they would say, you're a Christian, aren't you? And I'd say, how do you know that? And they say, I just can tell. And I go, okay, I'm doing something right, because I'm not making anybody mad in our very spiritually dark corner of the country. But yet, are you finding that? And when there are opportunities, and I know it takes courage, and I know that there's places you can't go, I get it. But are you finding when there's opportunities, that there are opportunities that maybe you didn't see before, where you can be authentic and transparent?
I found myself striving. That's where I found it. And I've had to kind of check myself on that. And to be honest, it's been on both sides that I've had that imposter syndrome pop up. It was at church, and now it is in my daily life. And it's actually, this is where more shame comes in. Because people have heard me on air for 10 years. They know how I talk. And so for me to now say I'm stronger in my faith, it's like, whoa. We heard how you used to talk. You're a Christian? And that's a real punch in the face.
Yeah, but that's beautiful too.
It is, but and again, that's where the shame lies. You know, I brought up the den on the show a couple times, and I want to say in October, I was telling a story. It was when Dame tore his Achilles. Because I've known Dame since his rookie year. I've got a really good relationship with him. And me and my ex-wife were watching the game. And when it happened, I knew immediately. He had the same look on his face that Wes did when he tore his. And I was just like,
yeah.
I started crying. Because we talked a ton during the summer before he got traded. And we got pretty close over some stuff. And I was just like, oh, no. And I was telling the story, and I said, you know, my wife and I were watching the game together. My wife and I. She had left at this point. And I just didn't like it. My girlfriend didn't like it. And the next day, I told my co-host, I go, hey man, I'm gonna start the show and it's gonna be really awkward. If you want to step out for this, don't worry, I'll take whatever heat. And I go, you know, guys, I shared a story yesterday, and you guys probably don't know this. You guys probably don't understand this. Some of you will because you've been through this. But I said yesterday, my wife, and it wasn't right. I'm getting a divorce, and I didn't like how that sounded, that I was pretending that everything was okay, that I'm out here, everything's fine. Because, you know, in our industry, we have to, no matter what's going on in our life, that's the hard part of the job.
Yeah.
No matter what's going on in our life, we have to entertain. We have to be locked in no matter what. Otherwise, everyone's going to hear it, and they're going to know. And we have bad days, and we have good days, but you have to keep it within the rails. And I knew that I couldn't get through that show feeling that way. Like it was not going to work. It was not going to be a thing. And I had we have a text line and YouTube going on, and the comments just flew in. Thank you.
I remember that.
Thank you. Like that's,
There you go.
and that was huge. And it honestly, it's being on air serves as kind of guardrails in itself of like a reminder of like, what life are you trying to live? Are you trying to keep a foot in this world? Is that what you're trying to do? No. So it's like, you know, I don't really drink. I don't really, you know, do anything anymore. I drank when I got out of the Air Force. But, you know, all the guys on air, they all like to party. They all like to have their fun. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, you can't do that. You know, I probably should, but that's just not who I am. But I just say, you know, I don't. Every time somebody will say, oh, yeah, no, I was getting drunk. And I'm like, I'll probably throw in something like, well, maybe you shouldn't. maybe, you know, oh, I feel like crap today. I'm a little hungover. I'm like, well, maybe that shouldn't be your life, dog. Yeah. Like those are where I find the opportunities where it's just like, it's something subtle like that. Or like, hey, I was at, you know, men's group on Wednesday night and had this, and that. Very.
That's all you have to do.
Just right little tangential things. And I've looked for opportunities to bring guys on.
Because you're not judging them if you do that.
No.
They just want to come along with you.
And that's where I found it. And again, selfishly, it's been more a part of stuff for maybe me. And that's where the striving comes from. And I've had to kind of check myself on that a few times of like, and again, my girlfriend, her discernment is through the roof. She listens, not all the time, but she listens a lot, and she'll be like, what'd you think about what you said here? And I won't even have caught it. And I'll be like, oh, or like, hey, what were you trying to say here? It's like, I don't know if that really landed. And she doesn't do it in a negative or hurtful or cutting way.
Right.
It's loving every single time because she wants me to be the best version that I can be there. And that's when I said the kind of stuff that she does for me like that. That like you want to talk about intentionality? I've never met a person, man or woman, more intentional than her. And it's just, boy, do you realize how non-intentional you are when you're around somebody like that sometimes.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with, in terms of like, I was thinking as you were saying that and talking about the way I used to think, and an actor that I love, Neil McDonough, who knows a friend of mine. So Neil is a huge Christian, but he plays the bad guy on almost everything.
He's the villain.
Literally played Satan.
Yes, he played Satan on The Shift, and he played Malcolm Beck on Yellowstone. He's always a bad guy. But he is a devout Christian, and I follow him on social media, and he's incredible. So I guess my point in saying that, and Pastor Mike, you have to deal, if you've had a horrible night before, if you have to give a sermon on Sunday, you got to be an actor a little bit. And so I don't think there's anything wrong. People do love, as you found out in the comments, they love authenticity, and I think they honor authenticity. But for you to put on a different face or to have to do that, like I used to have to do that on TV. And I mean, I remember a game in Cleveland one time when my daughter was born. I feel like a piece of crap because I had to leave the hospital, C-section. I have to leave the hospital for a 5-game road trip. It was starting. I had no backup. I had to do I never missed a game. I had to, even when I didn't have a voice like you talked about, which would give me PTSD. But I get to Cleveland and my son is trying to talk on the phone. He's 17 months. My daughter is 2 days old. He reaches for the phone and does a header into the coffee table, and I hear the whole thing. And I'm in Cleveland. In this, I can still tell you the room. And I can hear my wife just drops the phone, and I can hear screaming and off to the emergency room. Blood cut down the middle of the face, which Jack still bears the scar if you look at his nose. Horrible. And I'm gone for the next week, and there's nothing I can do about it. And so I felt awful in that time. But that night, I'm sitting in the chair, stools, as we get through rehearsal, and I'm sitting there waiting for, so they can see us in the truck because they got all the angles. And my producer says in my ear, he said, dude, I know your mind is not here. I know you want to be home, and I know this sucks. He goes, just get through the next couple of hours. Then you can call your wife. Your son's fine. He's okay. But that, as far as having to straighten up and put on a face in a time I didn't want to be there. So my point in all of that long story is to say I get it. And there's nothing wrong with, I don't think you should feel like an imposter if you have to go on a show. And even Mike, if you're having something in your life and then you got to go give a sermon the next day on maybe the very thing that, or you're down.
Yeah.
You don't feel like talking about that. It just, I think we all have to do that to some degree.
100%. That's not faking it. That is actually serving others.
You want to go preach on tithing again?
Yeah. Yeah, I got to load another one of those in the chamber. Yeah, it's funny you say that. We had a few conversations around that in the last week. But what I love about this time with both you guys is you are two guys that I know are authentic and real. And I can't tell how many times, we've had times at games where we're both running around, we're both, darting here and there because we got stuff to do on game night, but then we'll have just a few moments like we did last night. I was standing courtside last night and we're sitting there talking and catching up. And what I find is,
I came to you broken one night.
I remember it. I remember that. I do remember that. Yep. I remember that. And that's what I appreciate about both of you guys is that realness. And when you have a public responsibility on air or in front of others, you have to guard what you share, because I've said this, like pastors can't turn the pulpit into their personal therapy time.
I was going to say, you especially have to do
Yeah,
that.
you can't just get up there and just,
You've got a different
everybody's
standard.
like, whoa, wait a minute. We're preaching the work today. And yet in the inside, you get a text 2 minutes before you walk on the stage. And, I've had that multiple times where, example, Bern with her health issues, I'm literally walking up and she sends me a text. Hey, I'm not feeling good this morning. I'm so sorry I can't come to church. I love you. And as I'm walking to the stage and I'm thinking, gosh, my poor wife, and my mind is there of, you know what, I wish I could be there to encourage her and say, but she's like, hey, don't Don't be thinking of me. I'm like, well, how do you not do that stuff? And so you do have to, I hate to say this, but you have to compartmentalize a little bit for the sake of moments. But the reality is though, and this all comes full circle, you have to find, and I know saying that others are going, help, how do I find that? You got to find some brothers, sisters that you can sit with and go, man, here's the real deal. Here's what I'm really wrestling through. Here's what's really going on. Pray for me, give me wisdom, talk me off the ledge, whatever. And God moves in those moments. But none of us were designed to float this life in some sort of isolation bubble. It's impossible to do that.
Yeah. And, when I hear you say that, for our group, our Wednesday group, we have this WhatsApp chat, which has, I think, 85, 90 guys on it.
Yeah.
I think it's almost 100 now.
Is it? That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I went kicking and screaming into that because I was like, the last thing I need is one more, because I'm in so many group things on text. So I was kind of like, I'm mad at myself for doing that. Man, it is life-giving when you get on there and you just read stories, and some guy will tell a story about what happened to him. Some guy will say he needs prayer for them, to watch all the guys jump in. Like when you were moving.
Oh,
You throw out a request. Hey, I got to move, and these dudes just show up.
I hated doing that.
I know, but these guys just show up. They wanted to bless you with that.
I had to turn people away.
Yeah,
I had to turn people away.
Love that.
I had 3 people from the group who I'd never met, Andy being one of them.
Yeah.
I'd never met. So it's just me and my dad. And, I'm moving from a house into an apartment. And I'm on the 2nd story. And I'm just like, it's not that much stuff, but 2nd story, it's just a pain. And I was like, I got to hire some, screw it, I'll ask. And I had to swallow my pride. And then I think we had 12 people show up, and I had to turn away 5 or 6.
Jeez.
It took us 3 hours because we had a 22-foot flatbed, and then I think every person showed up with a pickup.
Yeah.
And they were happy to do it.
Yeah.
And
You blessed them.
And then, this isn't to sit here and toot my own horn. I brought 24 pizzas.
I know, it was awesome.
To the
No,
men's
that was
group
great.
because I was like, I just want to say thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Because showing up like that meant the world to me.
absolutely.
And then, we get done moving, and Dave and Travis were like, let's pray over this place.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've got a bunch of dudes in my place, and I haven't even spent a minute in yet.
Yeah.
Asking to bless this place and to be a place where God moves. And like, that's, if you had told me that 6 months before that, I wouldn't have believed that for a second.
Yeah.
So we talk about this, and we talk about how important, what this group has meant, even our Wednesday or whatever, if you're in the Forge Wednesday mornings, but if you don't live in the area and you listen outside of this is out there everywhere. And that's why we talk about this so much, because we've seen it just absolutely change lives.
Totally.
That's church.
That is.
And so, and somebody made that comment the other night that that is their church, and that's okay. That's what it's designed to be. And so, even like to go all the way back to when we were talking about a while back about baptisms, and I was baptized in the church, and you think about this formal thing, kind of where, you got a couple minutes, you got 30 seconds to say what you want and get off. Man, the baptisms that we've been to out there, where some guys will talk 25 minutes and cry their eyes out, and then they got their brothers in there with them. That's, that is, I think, like you said, I think that, not to take anything away from any other kind of baptism or any kind of a church service,
right?
But it can look like a lot of different things, and what we're telling you can be had by everyone.
Yeah. I'm one to, and I can say this because I've had this conversation. I had lunch with one of our leaders on Monday in our church, and we were talking about how the big thing, and our church gets bigger, and I keep saying, bigger we get, the smaller we got to get. We got to go that direction. And because there's just so much that can't happen in a room. And and I'm not even saying you have to be a mega church. I'm talking once you get to about 100, the average church in America, they say statistically, the average church in America is just over 100 people. And they say that once you get to 100, you start becoming invisible. You can show up and not be known.
Sure.
You can be there. And I would say you can even do that in probably a group of 50 people. But you got to get smaller. And when we're sitting there in those baptism tanks, we just had this conversation with our group that you have one guy who's going to share, and he's pouring his heart out, and he's, sharing everything. And on a Sunday morning, you feel rushed, like we got to cram this in. But no, this is community time. And then Daniel gets in there. And this was probably one of the most epic. I think it was one of the most epic. Every baptism is amazing because the baptisms are about testimonies. Mm-hmm. It's not a ritual. It's not a formal thing. It's not hey, let's just get people dunked and that's why I'll say this on air. I struggle with some of the big church stuff when I see people in a line and they've got 100 people lined up that are just dunk, like they're herding cattle through.
Yeah.
And I go, gosh, you're missing kind of the point. The point is not we're trying to herd people through waters. There's testimonies, and testimony takes time. And somebody might take 2 minutes. Somebody might take 20 minutes. And you got Daniel who's a new Christian, and I love he's got hey guys, I got a verse I want to share with you, and he's in the hot tub standing next to you, and he reaches over and grabs his Bible and he goes, hey, maybe you guys have heard this before, but I'm kind of new to this, and I just read it the other day and didn't know this was in the Bible. It's Psalm 23, and you could feel like everybody just got quiet. There was a hush, and he reads it. And he was reading it for the first time. And every one of us, myself included, who maybe read it 1,000 times, heard it through a brother, and it brought me back to kind of virgin ears with the gospel. And there was something really like the hush, the quietness. And then you could hear a whisper. And guys were reciting it as he was reading it. So under the breath, you could hear the Psalms. It was, wow. It was so, but like you wouldn't have had that moment. Yeah. If we had just, kind of the formal thing. And anyway, so there's something really special about that space.
Yeah, very good. Well, brother, we need to do this again because we always sit here like this and do this, and to have somebody else come in and share what we talk about a lot is we don't have many guests, but we love it.
Yeah,
and love that you have the God-given skill to be able to communicate and be
shut up.
Well, that's how we are. That's why I thought, well, we could sit here for another 6 hours and not even so. But we'll do it again soon. Have you back on again soon, and you're seeing, I think, probably spinning in your head was what I had to see when I left that world, not on my own, but I would not have left it. But then I started to think, well, how can I use my talents or my God-given abilities elsewhere to, and I'm not a pastor, as we talk about. I don't have the same calling Pastor Mike has. I don't have the same skills or experience or education that Pastor Mike has. But man, we can all glorify the Lord in our own way. And so I started to see that, and that's where this podcast has even been such a gift. So thanks for sharing yours and your story. And we'll have you back on again soon because we like this.
Anytime, brother.
This is what it is.
You're just down the street.
Yeah, I'm just down the street.
I know, right in the neighborhood.
I felt shameful because I drove here. It's raining.
It was raining. Well, we'll do it next time, next time, and then we'll do cigars next time, as Pastor Mike talked about.
That's right.
There you go.
We love you all. We'll see you next time on the next episode of Vertical Pursuit. We invite you to subscribe to our podcast, comment, or message us, and check out our website at verticalpursuit.org. Download the VP app and check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.